welcome to today's version of Ask Klein Math. Today we're going to be looking at standards 1.5D, 1.3B, and 1.3C for first grade, where we are starting our adding and subtracting units, and we're really focusing on fact strategies as we work together. We're going to start our fact strategies today by looking at order of add-ins. And in first grade, this flexibility with using numbers will really make a difference for our second, third, fourth, and fifth graders who will use this flexibility as they not only add, but also as they move into multiplication. So knowing that the order of add-ins does not change the sum is a really important concept for our first graders. A lot of hands-on activities for this unit because the way that our students learn best is by doing. So we want to use a lot of manipulatives in our strategies with this unit. So as you take a look at the unit, we start out with looking at our add-ins, and we've built with the linking cubes. The example is built here with 1 red and 3 blue. I actually have my linking cubes, and I would have my students build this right along with the problem. So I'm going to ask my students to duplicate the example that they see, and I'm going to build with my 1 red and my 3 blue linking cubes. Then I'm going to ask my students to think about the add-ins, the 1 red and the 3 blue. Those are the two add-ins for this problem, and the answer to an addition problem is called the sum. This is important academic vocabulary, and it's important for our students to use these words correctly and flexibly in their math lessons. Then I would ask them to take a look at this train. Now, we haven't really changed anything. There's still 3 blue and there's still 1 red, but what they've done is actually flipped it around. And I would have my students just flip it around, move it from one side to the other and turn it around so that they can begin to see that the 3 blue, and I would give them colored pencils to use so that they could write along with this. So the 3 blue cubes and the 1 red cube, then I would put my signs in. 3 plus 1 equals their sum, which is still 4. And the important thing that we want our students to recognize is that just because the order of the add-ins changed, that did not change the sum. Then we can practice with sum. So again, we're using our red and blue counters. I would have my students build with these, and then I'm going to also have them color in with these. So in this one, we have 2 plus 3. So we're going to choose 2 red and 3 blue, and I'm going to have them build the cube train that goes with that. Then I'm going to have them make this cube train come to life with their model. So I'm going to color in 2 red. It doesn't have to be beautifully colored. It can just be shaded in. But I'm going to have them color in 2 red, and then I'm going to have them color in 3 blue so that they can remember what this model looks like when they go back and look at this later, even if they've built a different cube train. Then on the other side, we're going to make a math sentence and addition sentence that matches that. So we look here and we say 2 plus 3 equals, and we know that that's 5 when we count those together. Now we want to make a sentence that equals 5 on this side, but we want it to look different than this one does. So what are we going to do? We're going to take our cube train and we're going to spin it around and make it look different. Now our cube train looks like 3 blue and 2 red. So I'm again going to have my students color that 3 blue and 2 red. We did not rebuild our cube train. We didn't change anything about it except we flipped it from one side to the other side. So now I'm going to have my students fill this in with their 3 blue cubes and they're 2 red cubes. We know that we're adding in this, so 3 with the addition sign. We have 3. We add on 2 more. That's going to equal the same 5 that we had in the problem before. So I would have my students continue practicing this with the different cube trains. And again, we're just going to rotate it. And I would have them physically rotate it on their desks in front of them so that they can see that all we're doing is we're rotating from one side to the other. We're just moving it from one direction to the other. We didn't change the sum at all. The next really important concept for our students to have is to make the number 10. It is so crucial for our students to be able to make the number 10, because then when our addition problems become a higher level and we have to start regrouping, it's so important for students to recognize that 10 and recognize that that's a time to regroup into the next place value when they get into the older grades. So we're going to start again with our cube trains. I'm going to start with my red one, and my cube train is built out with 10. So I have all 10 of my cubes red. So I'm going to color all 10 of my cubes on this 10 train red. And I know that I have a blue train that I'm going to use to help me, but right now I don't have any of those blue cubes on this 10 train. So I know that I have 10 red cubes. I'm going to outline that in my red. But my blue, I have 0 of them in this cube train. So I'm going to be sure I put the 0. Recognizing this fact with the adding 0 is very, very important. We have to recognize 0 as a number and recognize that when we add 0, we do not change the sum. All right, for my next one, I'm going to take off one of the red linking cubes, and I'm going to add on a blue one. So I'm going to start with my red again. I have my red 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of the red ones. So all but the very last one is red. And then I'm going to add my 1 blue. I'm going to color that in. I'm going to have my students use their pencils and again show that 10, it's the same 10 train. We didn't make any more or any less. It's the same 10 train, but now we used 9 red and 1 blue. Then I'm going to continue the process all the way down the page until I get to my very, very last 10 train. So this one's going to be 9 and 1. This one would be 8 plus 2. I'm going to take off one more red, and I'm going to add one more blue. So now I have 8 red and 2 blue. And I'm going to color my train to look like that. 8 red and 2 blue. What I want my students to start to see is the pattern that every time I take away one of the red ones, that number is going to be decreasing, but I'm going to increase my number of blue ones. So here I had 10 red, 9 red, 8 red. Here I had 0 blue, 1 blue, 2 blue. So I want them to start recognizing that pattern so that they can start to make the association that as I decrease one addend, I am increasing the other addend so that my sum will stay the same. Great practice for students to memorize these facts and to have the flexibility with them to know that 8 plus 2 and 2 plus 8, when they get down to one of these further trains, 2 plus 8 still equals 10. All of these, we call them friends of 10 that we can make really important strategy for our first graders and even for our students going forward. Thanks for joining me for this edition of Ask Klein Math.